Hello, fellow book nerds. Happy Halloween! Hello, happy book nerds. This is my Halloween book tag video. I'm so excited. I've never done this one before and it's spooky season. If you don't know what my costume is, it's Steve Jobs slash that scary Ferris's lady that I learned about in that Bad Blood book. I don't know, I just wanted something like scary and I was like, oh, a turtleneck. I will link in the original creator of the video down below, but let's just kick this off. First question is carving pumpkins, a book you would carve up and light on fire. Delightful. And I have a delightful book as an answer. And this is Discovery of Witches. If you've been on my channel for a while, maybe you remember me reading this book, but I really hated it. I have a wrap up where I talk about it way more in detail, but let's just have a little breakdown here. So Discovery of Witches tells the story of, what's her name? Woman who's descendant from a family of witches, and one day she finds this book full of spells and opens it and it activates something, and now there's this brooding vampire that has to take care of her and save her from all the other vampires who want her because she can read the book. It's been a year. I don't know if this is the right synopsis, but we're just gonna go with it. I hated so many things about this book, mainly how long it was, how boring it was, how the main character had absolutely no agency, zero, nilch. It was actually really sad. She would just sit at home while everyone else solved her problems, and that passes for action in this book. The main character anxiously waiting for her lover to come back, and don't even get me on the boyfriend. So possessive. My god. Talk about unhealthy relationships, and yeah, there were just many things I hated about this book. It just was so slow, it took me so long to read, and the payoff was so bad that I would love to just carve it up, light it on fire, throw in all the sequels, although I haven't read them, and just have a nice old bonfire, you know? At least this way the book will be able to give me some joy. Otherwise, nilch. The next question is, trick or treat? What character is a treat and what character is a trick? And for this we're going to be talking about Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. So I am a recent convert. I just discovered the brilliancy, the amazingness, the just pure talent of Miss Jane Austen. Or Mrs. I think she never married. I'm not sure. Anyway, Jane Austen is a brilliant writer. I read Pride and Prejudice as well as Northanger Abbey, and I loved both. Pride and Prejudice a little bit more, such a good book. But the characters that I want to talk about is Mrs. Bennet and Mr. Bennet. Now, can you guess which one's a treat and which one's a trick? Mrs. Bennet is an absolute treat. I love that woman with all of my heart. Yeah, we all know that's a lie. I think Mr. and Mrs. Bennet are just such an interesting couple. Do you know what Pride and Prejudice is about? Anyway, Pride and Prejudice is about Elizabeth Bennet, who lives with her multitude of sisters as well as her parents, and there's a handsome new lord who comes to town, and they hope that her sister Jane will marry this dude, but this dude has this friend that's like brooding and awful and super mean, and his name is Mr. Darcy, and it just goes from there. If you don't know what Pride and Prejudice is about, how old are you? Are you even allowed to be at the computer? As you might have deduced, Mr. and Mrs. Bennet are the parents of the main character, and Mr. Bennet is just amazing. He's such a treat. He might not be a perfect father because he's sometimes a little bit dismissive. So the whole idea is that because women can't inherit land in this time, whatever this takes place, they can't inherit any land. Therefore, when Mr. Bennet dies, his estate will go to his male cousin. It's kind of a fight of ideologies where Mr. Bennet kind of just wants his daughters to be happy, let them go off, do their thing, enjoy life. You know, he doesn't really care about like proper marriages. While Mrs. Bennet, she thinks that they have to marry right or otherwise they will end up on the street. So at least one of them has to marry right so that they can take care of her sisters. Now don't get me wrong, I see the both sides, and I see where Mr. Bennet, although he's a charming man, he has great sense of humor, he has great rapport with Elizabeth, he clearly loves Elizabeth so much, he loves all of his daughters, he's a good father in that sense. I can also see how him being so flippant about this whole they will live on the street because they will literally have no money because everything will go to the male heir, him being so flippant about it, dangerous. You don't want your daughters to just end up homeless. On the other hand, we have Mrs. Bennet, who is a gossip. She is hypocritical. She is so judgmental. She pretends she meant something. She just badmouths this thing, then just flips about, badmouths this thing. She's just like an awful woman who I would not want to be my mother. But she does have her daughter's best interest at heart. She wants to make sure they're well taken care of and that they have money to live on and that all of them will be okay, which I can totally appreciate. She is definitely a trick, but I can see positive things about her character, and Mr. Bennet is definitely, I can see how there's some things about his character that are a bit questionable. Next up we have Candy Corn. What book is always sweet? And for this, I've chosen Anne of Green Gables. So this is an older book. It's a Canadian middle grade. It's kind of a classic in terms of children's literature. We follow two elderly siblings who live on the farm, and they decide to adopt an orphan from the orphanage, and they want a strong boy so that he can help out with the farm. But when they go pick up the orphan, turns out it's just this little girl called Anne, and she is this red-headed, scrawny little thing. They're like, damn it, there was a mistake, we need to exchange her, but they just fall in love with her so much that they said to keep her, and just about her life living with them. And it's such a beautiful story. It's all sweet to me, although there are some sad bits in the book, and there's definitely a lot of growing up. We follow Anne across maybe like 4 years, and there's some sad bits, especially towards the end, but the whole book was just so filled with laughter, and just it was so happy and beautiful because Anne is this little girl who never shuts up and has the most amazing imagination, and she's just so full of life. I read this book very recently, but it used to be my childhood favorite. I absolutely adored it when I was little. I read the whole series. I just think it's such a wonderful, beautiful story, and if you really want something warm and cozy to make you happy, I would definitely recommend Anne of Green Gables if you haven't read it when you were little, because for example my boyfriend didn't even know what it was. Like, how? Yeah, it's a wonderful story. I would highly recommend it. If you just want to be happy and fall in love with this just annoying little thing, you should read it. Next up are ghosts. What character would you like to visit you as a ghost? And I'm having such a hard time thinking of it, because I feel like it should be someone with great knowledge that can bestow it all upon me, like teach me things. Okay, I know. Okay, I would want it to be Sated from The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. Final Empire tells the story of this empire that was taken over by the Dark Lord. He won many years ago, and now it's kind of a wasteland and life is awful. It's about people rising up and trying to abolish this tyrannical ruler, and the people in this world have special powers. They're called Mistborn, and different metals that you can manipulate, and depending on what metal you can manipulate, you can have the power. That's not important. Let's move to Sazed. So I don't even know if I'm saying his name correctly, because when I heard it in the audiobook it sounded like Caesar, but when you read it it's more of a Sazed, so I don't know. He's one of the last of this ancient race that's being kind of slowly wiped out, and it's only being bred for the purposes of the evil emperor. But he teams up with the main character, and the reason I love him to visit me, I feel like he just has so much wisdom, and he's so, well, first of all I just love him because I think he's sweet. I haven't read the last book, don't spoil anything to me. From first book I just think he's such a sweetheart. He's so full of all this knowledge because they are able to like store knowledge for generations, and they just have a lot of cool powers, and I feel like he would be a really awesome person to talk to, really interesting, and I would just learn a lot, and I could ask him loads of questions, and he could be my best friend like he is Vince, and we could just be happy, very happy together, and I would love to be his friend, even if it was a ghost friend. Next up is dressing up in a costume, and this question is, what character would you want to be for a day? And for this I've chosen January from 10,000 Hours of January by Alex E. Harrow. I just want to be someone with a quiet room. So the reason I've chosen January is because in this book there are many worlds within worlds, and you can visit different worlds through portals, and you can experience just the most amazing things. And January, our main character, gets to experience all those amazing worlds, and I just love the book in general, but I really love the worlds within worlds within worlds, and I just think they're so beautiful and there's so much to see. So I would love to be January and go on this amazing adventure discovering all of these worlds, one more amazing than the other. So I think having a day in her life would be really cool. I don't think a day would be enough to see all of the different worlds because you want to spend some time there, but nevertheless maybe I can visit one or two and choose the most amazing ones, but I would love to visit this world, and you should read this. I've talked about this book a lot, so you probably know what it's about, but just read it anyway if you want to go onto an amazing adventure. Next question is wizards and witches, and this is your favorite Harry Potter moment. So without mentioning she who shall not be named and not talking about the books, let's talk about the movie. And the absolute favorite movie moment in Harry Potter is the moment where they're all sitting, I think it's the 5th movie or maybe 6th movie, and they're just all sitting, by all I mean Harry, Hermione and Ron, they're all sitting in the common room and just laughing together. And I think that was like just a scene where Emma started laughing and everyone laughed, and it was amazing. So I just love that scene so much. I think it just shows their friendship, like such an candid moment. They don't really get that many together when they're just happy, so I think I loved seeing that, them as just regular friends. Next question is blood and gore. What book was so creepy they had to take a break from it for a while? I don't read that many creepy books, but first thing that came into mind was Horror Store. So Horror Store is this really cool novel, very uniquely told through kind of multimedia, but it's designed to look like an IKEA catalog, because we follow an IKEA-like store, and in this store there's some weird spooky things starting to happen, and the employees get locked there for a night and they kind of have to survive that night. And it was quite gory, it was quite scary, and I was alone at home when I was reading it, and it was really late, and it was like October time, November time, so I got really spooked out, and I had to like kind of put it away and bring it in, read a little bit, put it away, because I was really, I was a bit spooked out. I think it was mostly because I was alone at home, but you know, it was still spooky. I would highly recommend it. It's a really cool novel told in a very unique format, and it makes it just go really fast, so I would highly recommend. Okay, so that's it for the tag. I really hope that this footage will be usable. That's it from me. Happy Halloween everyone. Hope you have a very spooky one, even though we're all stuck at home. Tell me your scariest book you read. I want to read more horror, or answer any of these questions if you want. And if you have your own videos, link them down below so I can check them out. But that's it from me. If you could please like, subscribe and comment, that would help me out so much. I'll see you in my next one. Bye!